All right, here we are at the Crystal Clear Point Studios with Miles of Smiles Events as our sponsor. And we're going to have to redo this video because I look drunk. I was
Like
watching that,
this video or the video that's like
the
you,
The
intro
intro?
video. I love it, but I'm looking at it going, I look drunk and I look drunk there and I look drunk there. Not that I know
I
what I
don't think
look like when
so.
I'm drunk.
I don't think so. I mean, I think you look extremely happy because I think that you were having fun doing the video.
I was having fun. I love that video. I love that video. So, oh, let me tell you who we are. I'm Deborah Colleen Rose, and this is Dr. Matthew Pierce, and this is Lulu Morse. And we are here. We're talking again. Watch out. And I let Lou pick our topic for the day. And it's going to sound like I'm arguing with her when we first start. I'll just warn you, but I'm not. But I am. And we're talking about shadow work. The shadow.
Well, it
What
doesn't
evil
help if
lurks.
you say it that way. I mean,
Oh,
shadow
shadow.
work.
Well, it makes me think of what evil lurks in the hearts of men. The shadow knows.
And you want to define it? Shadow work is the process of getting to know the parts of yourself that you're not currently aware of. The unconscious part.
I'm very aware of my shadow. Very aware. I love my
But
shadow.
not everyone is.
Me and my
Oh God.
shadow. I got a song for everything.
Now, Luann, let me ask you a question because where did you pull that definition from?
It's from a psychiatric website by Dr. Jeffrey.
Okay.
Who the
I
hell
mean,
is
because
that?
I mean, it's a good definition. However, I kind of take it one step further, especially with the people that I counsel. Um, you know, n- Shadow work isn't necessarily the stuff that we don't know, but it's the stuff that we sometimes can't admit. Like
Ah, yes.
we have those aspects of ourselves that we don't like to look at because it's either society says they're taboo, or at previous times in your life, when you acted on those impulses, that they were shunned or said you shouldn't be doing this. And
It
so,
also
I mean,
says stuff we tucked away in early development.
yeah, it is. I mean, a lot of times it is, but it can also be in later development as well. Um, Example, I really believe that battered woman syndrome is a part of shadow work. They get in their mind a mindset of like, well, I'm always going to be here. I'm bad. I'm the person that's responsible for this behavior. Blah 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 blah. And unfortunately, well, actually, fortunately, you can counsel people inside of that to realize that they are living in a shadow world. They are living in a negative space that they don't need to.
Well, you can even extend that out with a little bit of a spider web. Anything that, because we hear this all the time and it annoys the fuck out of me. Oh, that triggers me. That triggers me. Well,
Mhm.
anything that triggers you is knocking on the door to your shadow side. And I always tell people, if half the battle, actually 75% of the battle is knowing what triggers you.
Mhm.
And once you know something triggers you, fix it, deal
Yep.
with it, cope with it, get some coping skills, or make sure it doesn't bother you. Very few things trigger me except stupidity. And no, I can't fix your stupidity, so oh well.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, it's just like because shadow work is your own personal journey. Okay. If
Exactly.
you're triggered by something, okay, I can't do anything about it. I mean, one of my guides said it one time, your shit is your shit, my shit is my shit. We're not going to mix shit. Okay.
No, and what's funny is that I'm watching a stupid show on Netflix called The Regime, and it's about a world leader, and you can't do this, and don't look her in the eye, and don't do this, and don't do, and you're like, oh my God, if you go back and look at all the things that people talk about that royalty and world leaders would let you do, not let you do, it tells you just how fucking neurotic all those people were,
Yeah.
because everything triggered them. Everything was a sign of disrespect, and so to me, the more triggers you have, the more shadow work needs to be done, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
No, I agree.
did we say that this was developed by Carl Jung?
We can say that he pioneered the
Yeah,
phrase shadow work.
yeah.
I mean, he was very instrumental in kind of like putting formulas out there of how to kind of like start in the process, of, either integrating or, making sure that you have, like realizations about who you are as a shadow person, like your shadow self. I've in my studies, I've kind of taken it one step further, where it's not necessarily about taking and removing those shadow pieces. It's about saying, yep, I have them, and integrating them back into yourself. So you're not trying to like force something away from you that really is you.
Well, I think if I remember correctly, the shadow work was developed out of him developing the different archetypes of the levels of personality, and that's where that work came from. So, but here's the thing that I think makes shadow work easier, and I learned this when I was learning how to do handwriting therapy. In handwriting therapy, we can measure up to like 300 or more personality traits. And we are taught as the therapist, there's no negative traits. Everything that is a part of that personality was learned at some point in your life to sustain you, because
Mhm.
our subconscious, to really take it down to the bare bones, has one job, and that's to keep you alive. So, like if we see traits of not always telling the truth in their handwriting, that doesn't mean that they have huge character issues and they're a bad person. It means that somewhere in their life, or numerous times in their life, they learn to lie to protect themselves. And most people do lie to protect themselves in
Absolutely.
some form or fashion. So, in an effort to reduce that trait, if they say they don't want to lie anymore, if they're in sales, they may want to say, no, I don't touch that, but it depends, because there's no judgment, there's no good or bad. We have to give the subconscious something else to replace that, because otherwise it's going to go back to like, no, I'm doing my job, they're alive, I'm doing it well, and I'm not going to change. And that's why breaking habits is so difficult. You have to give it something to replace in that subconscious little niche, you know or it's not going to want to adjust.
Right. Totally. I mean, that's a great example. I mean, I don't do handwriting analysis. I mean, so I can't speak to that, but, from a counseling standpoint and from a metaphysics standpoint, you have to replace it. There has to be something there. Either that, you, like I said, you meld it back into like your whole persona, instead of trying to force it away, you actually embrace it that, yeah,
Hmm.
I am that way.
And I was told many years ago that was really my saving grace, because I've got my shit together now. But when I was younger, I had a temper. I was wild. I would take a dare just to take it. I mean, and I was not necessarily out of control, but I'd had no boundaries, no boundaries. And so one day I realized that maybe I needed a boundary, because I now had a child, and I needed to be able to take care of that child. And but and this is why I like the handwriting therapy as well. There's no judgment attached to dealing with your dark side. It's just, do you like this about yourself, or do you not like about it? And why do you not like it, or why do you like it? And then how do we incorporate this back into your personality, or how do we shift this into your personality? And that's what one of my coaches told me years ago. She goes, this is what I love about you, Deborah. You have a very dark side, but you don't hide it. You embrace it. You love on it, and you don't let it run you, because you know it exists and you acknowledge it.
Yeah,
So,
I had to control my anger. I could go from 0 to 100 in like 3 or 4 seconds, so I had to temper myself.
Well, and when I was doing my self journey, so to speak, because I did have coaches, but I did most of mine on my own, I realized that I'm very good at fighting. I am really good at fighting. I am really good at arguing, but I don't like it. I learned to be good at it because of the things I had to deal with in my life. And so once I realized you can be good at something but not want to do it, and it's a choice, and the word choice was like freedom exploded in my world to know I had a choice. That changed my whole perspective about life. And that was the thing that opened up the door to so many things for myself. Okay, bye,
Well,
y'all.
bye. Yeah, that was it. Okay.
Dead air, we're gone.
I was
Well,
thinking that sometimes it's just about changing the wording, like changing from losing something to releasing something,
I like that.
because the unconscious doesn't want to lose it, but releasing it is a different thing.
Yeah, but you still have a hole in your subconscious. Even if you release it, you've got to plug something back in that hole. You have to see the brain like it's like a big bookshelf and it's full of books. And if you take one book out, you're going to have to put another book in, or it's going to be like that Mino librarian, and she's going to say, "You didn't check that book out properly," and they're going to put it back in on the shelf.
So how do you think one should do that?
Take out the word should. How may they do that?
How could they do that?
Well, I
I have an
mean,
idea.
go ahead. I have a process that I work with, with the people that I counsel.
Well, let's hear it. I
And
want
it's,
to hear it. Tell us your process.
well, the process is I actually do an inventory, where a person actually goes through and says, here's the things I like about myself, and here's the things that I don't like about myself. A lot of times, those pieces that they don't like, okay, are the areas inside of the shadow self that need to be addressed. Okay. Now, some of those people have, very long history with how they've built things up inside of their lives. I've dealt with, people who had money, okay, and then all of a sudden didn't have money. And that changed their perspective on who they were, inside, and how they showed up, inside of life. Okay. And that's not necessarily a shadow thing, okay? But the thing that showed up for this person was that they became intolerant of people who did not have money or did not know how to budget, or, were negative about like financial items, okay? And so how he reacted to it is that he went into financial planning, and all of this, but he was horrible at it. I mean, horrible at it. And finally he like, screw it, I'm not doing this anymore. Okay. Well, the piece of himself that was that shadow, okay, that didn't really care for people who were ignorant about finances, okay, was the thing that was keeping him from actually doing his job.
Mhm.
And so working on those aspects of like, how do we integrate that back in so you can get past the negative connotations that you have about a certain item, or a certain action inside of your life. So my process is taking a look at those pieces and then breaking them down into like smaller chunks. Okay. We had to kind of dig it up, and like, okay, where did this come from? you know did it come from your parents? Did it come from college? Did it come from grade school? Did it come from another outside influence? Okay. um you have a lot of instances where people had to do shadow work, or need to do shadow work, that were abused when they were younger, because they have feelings that aren't necessarily true to form. Okay. And so now they have a negative connotation about sex or intimacy, or those types of things. So shadow work for me, I mean, is like, it's kind of an all-encompassing thing. Like anytime that I can see like you engaging in a negative pattern, okay, that's when I can say, there's shadow work that needs to be done. And so that's kind of my process. I mean, if you want specifics, you can ask me questions.
Well, no, I get your process. I think because it's ironically enough, it's very similar to what the handwriting therapy does.
Mhm.
But the major difference with the handwriting and why it's successful for a lot of people is that a lot of people have a hard time sitting down and being honest with themselves. That's the first
Yes.
thing. So by doing an actual personality profile by analyzing their handwriting, we actually tell them what their dark self is.
Mhm.
Here are your major traits. Here are your minor traits. And it's not just about what the traits they have, it's how they interact and how one affects the other. So that if you have a fear of conflict and you also are unable to be honest all the time, this really puts you in some awkward positions. Okay. And so they have to sit down and own those traits in some capacity. And I've only had one person in all the years I've done this say, that's bullshit. You got all that wrong. And I said, well, I said, I guess that's possible. I said, I've never had that happen before. And I followed all the rules and all of the system and everything. So why don't you just look at this and then get back with me? And, if you still disagree, I'll be more than happy to refund your money because, there's no point in having an unhappy client. So she calls me the next day. And she goes, I'm sorry. She goes, everything on this is right. Um, I'm a recovering alcoholic. And I said, I know. And she goes, and I really have a trouble, owning up to some things. I said, I know. It's on the sheet of paper I gave you, remember? So she finally owned up that it was right. But the beauty of it is that once we go through the process and we see what is affecting each other, they can decide what they want more of or less of in their lives. And then the handwriting is changed, that we change the way they write. We actually change the way that we write in certain capacities. And they don't have to go through a lot of talk. They don't have to go through a lot of conscious gut-wrenching stuff, that some people are not capable of doing. Some people live for that. Some people thrive on that, and other people they just shut down, especially if they have anxiety or PTSD.
Mhm.
Okay, it's just almost impossible. And then here's the thing that a lot of people don't ever talk about is that what if you have suppressed memories that have really affected you? How do you talk about it if it's suppressed? You don't
Yeah,
even remember.
no.
So we go in there and we basically start wiping pieces of the subconscious clean and putting things back immediately through the process of writing. And that's why it has a high success rate for people that are willing to write 10 minutes a day. They have to write 10 minutes a day. They have to. It's why it's handwriting therapy.
So, it may not right away sound negative, but something that's negative for me is the Pollyanna syndrome. You know
Say
what
again?
Pollyanna syndrome is, don't you?
No, Lou,
Um,
tell us.
That's where everything is perfect and you don't believe that there's bad.
Except in your own life. You think everybody else is perfect and your life sucks. You got to add that point.
that to me, I mean, kind of sounds like reverse narcissism.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Reverse narcissism.
Back it up. Back it up.
Well, I mean, if they're thinking that everything is well and good and everything else like that, you know, I mean, I'm going to tell you right now. I mean, if people look at me and hear me say, it's all perfect, it's all perfect. I'd probably be accused of having Pollyanna syndrome. I really would, um, because I guess I have an outlook on life that, if it's happening, it's happening. I'm right in the midst of it, so let's deal with it. You know, people ask me all the time, how do you deal with all your health issues and how do you deal with this and how you deal one step at a time? That's all I can do. But the thing is, I'm not going to get anything out of going, oh, woe is me. I'm not at that point.
I got a song for this too. One day at a time, sweet Jesus. One day at a time.
Yeah, okay.
Well, Deborah calls it the Cinderella syndrome.
Okay.
Oh, I just hate Disney princesses. It's in general. Oh, you're just a fucking Disney princess. Princess is what I tell people. Oh, the shoe's got to fit and it's got to have a 4-inch heel and we got to have the perfect ball gown.
Okay, stop calling me out.
Well, you're a queen. That's different. You're not a
Oh,
princess. I'm on a roll today.
oh. Well, I mean, I think that's actually a really great, comparison, the Pollyanna syndrome. Um, and I mean, some of the people that I have, that I've counseled, they do have narcissistic tendencies. And if you're not willing to like actually look at something, and say, yeah, that doesn't work really well for me. A lot of narcissists want to hold on to that for themselves because they don't want to look bad. They don't want to say, oh, I actually changed something about myself. Someone influenced me to do that. They won't do that.
No, because
So
they don't need to change, right?
exactly, they will not admit that there's anything wrong. Okay. Now, with like Pollyanna syndrome, everything is golden, everything is fine, but you take it to the extreme on that side too. It's like,
Right.
well, then you're not willing to look at, the dark aspects that you have. Everything's great.
So if you think everything's great, that's the Pollyanna syndrome. And if you're not willing to admit that you're not perfect, that's the Mary Poppins syndrome.
Ooh,
Because Mary Poppins is practically perfect in every way. Another Disney thing, okay? I think Disney is the devil.
but I actually like that analogy, because in the movies, especially the newer movies for Mary Poppins, um, she knew everything.
Oh, and
She
she's
would she would
just
never
so up
admit.
in the
Yeah,
air with that nose. I knew it.
exactly.
Yeah.
But there was also that humanness side of her that kind of showed through as well. So I think a lot of people put up a front about how good or bad they are. Um, and I have my opinions on that too.
Well,
So,
it's just like I'm doing the other podcast where I'm telling my life story, and I've kind of redone the intro a little bit because I'm going to start putting this on TikTok. Oh my God, I had made up my mind I wasn't going to do it anymore, and then all of a sudden now I'm going to TikTok with it because of a lot of shit. But I put in the introduction. I've had a lot of tragedy in my life, but my life is not tragic. You know,
I love
and I
that.
think that's one of the things that held me back from really being more formal about telling my story. Because I think there's a lot people can learn from me because I have made so many effing mistakes and done some weird stuff. And some of it was intentional and some of it wasn't. But I don't want, now I don't care, but I used to not want people to treat me like I was pathetic or like I was a victim, you know? Or that, it was something to be pitied. Because to be honest, even with all the things that are tragic in my life, I like what I've done in my life. And even with the tragedy, not that am glad that people have died in my life, I'm so glad that I got to know those people before they did die.
Mm-hmm.
And I have, like, I was telling Lulu the other day, I dated a bank robber for a while from New
Hey, I'm going to
York.
mute myself because they're doing an alarm test like right out here. So that's going to
We
come
can't
through.
hear
So
it.
I'm going to
Okay.
mute myself.
Okay. So, yeah, but I enjoyed that relationship so much. And even though, it was intense for a while. I mean, he hid the money in my house. It was all kinds of stuff. I used to sneak hamburgers into the jail for him because I felt bad for him. Because I'm
You
the one
felt
that turned him in.
you felt bad for a bank robber. Okay.
Well, he was so funny. He made me laugh. And and I enjoyed his company. I did shoot my car up though, because he stole my car one night. Okay. So that's a wild story. It's a very wild, what was funny though? He got far enough away that he didn't think I could hit him, and he jumped out of the car. He goes, "You stupid bitch, you're shooting up your own car." I said, "It's not gonna be mine for long. I'm fixed to report it stolen." And I do.
I
I
was
laugh
trying to
about
hit
things.
you.
I do. I laugh about most of the stories in my life, even though because they're just so weird. And I enjoyed every minute of it for the most part.
I really love your assassin moments, Deborah. I really do. I mean,
What do you mean by
just
that?
those stealthy little things that you do that are just like, what did she do? I'm like, what? Bank robber? I mean, what?
Well, I
What?
didn't know he was a bank robber. I didn't date him knowing he was a bank robber. I found out during the course of the relationship that he was a bank robber.
And you ended it right then?
Well, kind of.
I
I mean, it took me a couple of weeks to figure out what to do and how to do it. I mean, because you have to assume that you're in some kind of danger if they're a bank robber and they're running
Yeah.
from the FBI. So I didn't really know how to go about it. And I had an aversion to the FBI at that point in my life because I had already been investigated by the FBI myself due to a business arrangement I had been in previously. So I was not thrilled about talking to them again. So I had to consult with an attorney and I had to consult with a bail bondsman, which is how I got into the bail bond business. So that everything has led me into something else. It's really interesting how everything in my life connects. There's no gaps. So, I mean, it took me a while. So then once we got all that done, okay, so I got him arrested and then I felt bad. So I posted bond for him. I did. I felt bad. Who am I to interfere in his quality of life?
In his poor choices.
I did my duty. I turned him in. I was a good citizen. And then he goes back to jail and he calls me. He goes, Deborah. He had a New York accent and he was always going, Deborah, why are you always busting my balls? Calls me from jail. He goes, all right, don't bust my balls. I got something to tell you. He goes, you should check the air vents in the bathroom. I think they're dirty. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? So he kept repeating it. So my curiosity got the better of me. So I went and checked the vent and there was money in it. That's where you hit it. So I had to go turn that in. And then he calls me and goes, you dumb bitch. And he goes, you should have invested that money. I said, oh, really? Like you did? In my air vent?
I'm sorry, but didn't the federal government know like what bills were missing?
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
how could you invest like I don't know.
It wasn't my money, so there was no
Yeah,
point in even thinking about it. So
exactly.
anyway, so he was funny.
So is like one area that you personally have like done shadow work, or can you say like that you've actively engaged in shadow work?
What do you mean by that question?
Well, there are certain aspects, like I said, in our lives, about, you know, um, how we like perceive things and how we do things. Like, for example, one of the pieces of shadow work that I had to do, is the whole, and I'm just being completely upfront and honest, is being gay and also being accepting of the Christian church. Okay, because there is a wide arena as far as what the Bible says and blah blah blah. I mean, and I have a certain opinions about that, but that's one of the things that I had to work on is how do I reconcile that inside of my life? And I was angry. I was angry for a long time. If you told me that you're a Christian,
Uh,
yeah, no, we're not gonna,
Is
we're
that
not
why he
gonna, we're
says
not
fuck
gonna
you, Deborah,
communicate.
all the time?
yeah,
Is is that why he says fuck you, Deborah?
no.
I was afraid you're going to say that.
No, but see, that's the thing. I've done the shadow work on that, so I can see that, if I'm talking to a Muslim, if I'm talking to a Buddhist, if I'm talking to, a Christian, if I'm talking to whomever, like, okay, I get that that's how you believe, and I get that that's how you identify yourself spiritually inside of this realm, inside of this world. Okay. And
Do you want
so
to answer
that
that,
was a
Lulu?
specific thing that I worked on.
Well, I had to work on my anger too, but my anger came from um abandonment.
Mhm.
Yeah, but do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, I don't think that I realized until later in my life that when I'm angry, I cry.
Yeah.
And so I spent like 2 years crying after my parents died. And I thought it was because I missed them so much. So yeah, maybe a little bit, but I was angry that they left.
Yeah.
When they had no control over it. You know, it, it was a disease process that took both of them. But I was just angry that they left me.
But how did you address that? And how did, it's one thing to acknowledge that you have a problem, but then again, it's like I said earlier, if you know something triggers you, then it's now your responsibility to
Well,
deal
I
with.
did do 2 years of counseling. So that was part of my anger issues.
Well, okay, so from a professional standpoint, sometimes you don't know exactly what you need to work on,
Mm-hmm.
and so that hinders your healing process.
Right.
Okay, for example, if someone comes to me and says, I'm angry, or I get angry at blah blah blah, so on and so forth. Okay, I ask them point blank, what is the root of anger?
Well, and see, with me, I was like, no, I'm sad.
Okay,
I didn't realize really what I was feeling was anger. No, I'm
okay,
sad that my
so
parents.
answer the question. What is the root of anger?
I think Luann just left.
I think probably I was feeling selfish,
Okay, selfish.
you know, that's
Okay,
the root of the anger. And it also goes back to I was adopted, and that
Okay.
was a part of the abandonment. And then my parents died. How dare they? You know?
so it might surprise you something. If you don't really understand this concept, I mean, it's kind of hard to understand sometimes. Okay, especially when you're right in the middle of it. But the root of anger is actually love. You love something so much that you were willing to get upset about whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So when you were angry at your parents leaving, but was it actually anger at your parents leaving, or that you love them so much because they did so much for you?
Well, that's true. They did.
And it left a
So
huge hole. And
yeah,
Yeah,
what
they
was
did.
our subconscious go? I need this whole field. So what is it going to fill it with? Grief, anger, whatever it can reach out and
exactly,
grab. Yeah.
exactly. But if you try to spearhead and go from an anger standpoint and try to conquer the anger, it's very
Mm-mm.
difficult. But
Yeah.
if you try and go at it from a standpoint of love, and you ask yourself, how do I get to the love? How do I get to, you know, what is that opposite of anger, of why I'm upset? I mean, if you didn't care about whatever's happening, okay, why be angry about it? So obviously
Yeah,
it's not the anger.
yeah.
And
Well,
so
I think one of the things that started the turnaround was when my first son was born.
mhm,
Uh, because I knew I had to get my act together to be a good parent.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Children make a huge impact in your life if you have any sensitivity to growing, because you're now responsible for something outside of your own body that needs to breathe.
Yeah.
And I always said that when I had my children, my son made me a better person, and then my daughter gave me peace of mind
Mhm.
Mm.
because of the things I went through with the birth of my kids. So, um,
Well, I think that I was headed down the suicide road really soon. And, when I found out I was pregnant, I thought, okay, well, your attitude and the way you do things has to change now
yep,
because you're going to be responsible for someone else.
yep, yep. I understand that.
Well, you shifted your affection. You shifted your love. I mean, you started putting more love into the relationship that you had with your, with your son or your kids,
Hmm.
and allowed that to replace what was happening with your parents. And so, again, like I said, if you focus on, the love aspect of it, it gives you a lot more access to be able to, integrate that stuff back into your life. So, I mean, that's kind of where I go with it.
Well, I'd like to answer that question that you
Do it.
asked. For me, it was a very long process. But I was in martial arts in my late teens and early 20s. And, I always played with boys when I was growing up in Arkansas, and I liked roughhousing. And then I realized I liked really roughhousing, and I really liked kicking people's asses in martial arts tournaments, and I was good at it. And then I realized that I really like hitting people, not women though. And I enjoyed putting people in jail as a bounty hunter. And I could be really aggressive with that. And I terrified people. And I liked the fact that I terrified people. And I woke up one day and realized that maybe that wasn't the best thing, but didn't really know what to do about it. But I acknowledged it. I like to hurt men. I'm aggressive. I'm strong and I enjoy it. And I had dabbled in it on and off for years, not really even understanding what it was exactly, but I had dabbled in BDSM. And then I wound up meeting a group of people that had a BDSM club here in Dallas, and a group of gay men that took me under their wing, my leather daddies.
The other days.
And I got very well trained into the art of BDSM, all aspects of it, and became very popular internationally, actually. I was well known through certain crowds. And I really, really liked BDSM. But it was what I needed to bring me full circle to realize that if you're going to put that much energy out, you have to put equal amounts of nurturing out as well.
Yeah.
Because the rule is if you break your toys, you can't play anymore. And the submissive or the masochist was your toy. And so I had to learn how to be a nurturing person. And I realized I was not a nurturing person. And I also was able then to reflect back that the only physical contact that I was really comfortable with was sex, not holding hands, kissing, snuggling. It was full blown intercourse, get up, bitch, and get me a sandwich. Them being the bitch, not me.
Hmm.
I was very masculine in that bed. And so that began my journey of looking at why I was angry at men and why I was a sadist, because I really wasn't a dominant. I was good at it, but it wasn't what I needed. I needed to be a sadist. I needed that, and I enjoyed it. And I knew that I had finally reached a point of when could not grow in that environment anymore, and I had gotten everything I could from that when I finished a scene and went, "Oh my God, I'm having a spiritual experience where my ego is trying to dominate who I am."
Hmm.
And I walked away from that world then. I totally walked away from it because I knew that if I didn't, my dark side would take control. And that's when I took control of my dark side, and I loved on it, and I let it grieve, and I let it have its ego tantrums and all this other stuff, all the time saying, but we're going to be better. We're going to be a better person. It's going to be okay. I literally talk to myself like that. And we may never be a lovey-dovey person, but we're going to be very loving because that's who we are in our heart. Because I was able to then remember how I was with my horses and how I was with my pets as a child, and
Hmm.
how I just wanted to sit in my daddy's lap and he would push me away. And my dad never hugged me. My dad never told me he loved me, ever, ever. So I did most of my shadow work on my own. I really did. So that's all I have to say.
So if I could ask a question, I mean,
Sure.
you got rid of one portion. What did you fill that gap with?
Focusing on being more connected with people in a way that was soft, giving my soft side permission to be soft, giving myself the ability and the freedom to be vulnerable, giving myself permission to say, that fucking hurts. Don't do that. Don't be mean to me. Don't be rude to me, because I used to suck it up and I didn't care what people thought then, but I did. Now I really don't care, because I can go to the people that I love and trust and say, I need loving. I need you to soothe me.
Yeah.
I need, you know, the thing that is so powerful for me in my life now is my husband can say, I can see you're not okay. I gotcha. And just those words, I gotcha. Three's a good number for me. I gotcha. I'm like, I'm zen. Just knowing that. Because I realized doing my shadow work, I grew up totally emotionally isolated. I took care of myself from a very young age emotionally. And because I was very intelligent and very logical, it was okay to a certain point. But a lot of my emotional side just never got developed until I focused on developing that. And even now, I'll be honest, I can sit there and tell Luann all the things that goes on in her conversations with people and what social cues she missed, and with my clients, I can do that. But sometimes I come home and I go, Scott, they said this, and then I said this, and I could tell by the look on their face they were thinking this, and why the fuck were they thinking that? I don't get it. And I had to have someone help me walk through some of this stuff, you know. But I'm okay with asking for help. And that was the big thing I learned.
Yeah.
Besides learning to be loving is to the best of my ability. And I don't beat myself up, because my kids used to tell me, you don't hug us enough. And I'm like, I'm sorry, kids. I'm doing the best I can. So here's what you can do. If you want a hug, come ask, and I
Yeah.
will give you everything you ask for. But do not grow up hating me because mama didn't hug me enough. Fucking open your mouth and ask.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's kind of a like an aspect that we kind of miss out on shadow work, is like, where's our responsibility for the communication? Because, if we're trying to integrate things back into ourselves that, aren't quite working, or, that we might feel is a little dark or whatever, it's like that, sometimes we need that communication, if I'm not living up to your expectations, you need to say something, you know?
Exactly. I'm
And
not a mind
don't be
reader.
afraid of that. I
Yeah,
mean, I
I
have
can't
people that
change it or fix it if I don't know it's broke.
exactly, exactly.
Okay, so here's what I'm angry about lately, and I'm doing some more shadow work now on a much lower key level. But what pisses me off, I just lost my train of thought. Damn it. Oh, here it is. Is that being part of the loving, nurturing person that I want to be, I try to adjust how I talk to people when I see that they're sensitive or they're vulnerable, because you know how blunt I am and how direct I am.
Mhm.
And that doesn't work with 99% of my family. I don't know how I got into the family I am. My son's like me, my daughter's kind of like me, but for the most part, my family is not like me, or I'm not like them. But what makes me so angry is that, why do I always have to be the one to adjust my communication style? Why can't they see when I'm in a moment of stress or there's a crisis that I might be dealing with, that they might need to adjust their style or take themselves out of their comfort zone to accommodate me at times? Not all the time, but at times I need what I need, just like I tried to give them what they need. And it seems to be very one-sided at times, and I get very angry about that and very frustrated sometimes.
Yeah, always making concessions for somebody else. But if you're having a bad day, nobody wants to make concessions for you.
Yeah, yeah, get
You know,
over it. Control yourself. And I'm going to tell you right now, there have been times in my life I have slapped people for saying things to me like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And I realized that that was a trigger, for me in my 20s, and I needed to find out why and deal with it. And that's because I grew up with the ideology, if you weren't bleeding or vomiting, get the fuck out of the house and get out of my hair, And that's the way all the adults were in my life, as far as I could tell. Not just parents, but all the adults.
Yeah. I mean, my trigger is if someone tells me to chill out
Yeah,
or
yeah,
just relax. And I'm like, I'm sorry, my energy doesn't work for you.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
Or
if you
breathe.
feel that I need to
Motherfucker, I
chill
am
out, maybe
breathing.
you need to speed up.
Yeah, they go, just breathe. Well, I am fucking breathing. If I wasn't breathing, I'd be quiet because I'd be passed
Mm.
out. You know?
And that old thing that says, do not tell a Southern woman to calm down.
Yeah, absolutely. I
There
am
will be
calm.
no
You're
calm.
alive. As long as you're alive, I'm calm. The minute you're dead, you can tell me to calm down.
That's right. That's right. And I had someone tell me, it was like, okay, you need to just chill. And I'm like,
No.
excuse me? I was like, why would you say that? Why would you say just chill? Okay. I mean, what
Oh,
inside of my persona, inside of my energy has you say just chill? Like, what do you not agree with? What is like offending you, to the point where you have to tell me just chill? Okay. And like I said, that's something that I'm working on because, I have to say, okay, wait a second, you're being triggered by this. But the reason you're being triggered by this is because that person is not understanding of what I'm going through. They have no idea what's happening over here. It's how they're reacting to their stimulus in their world. And so it should not have a hold of meaning for me, that like,
well, but that brings up another side point. Okay. So, and you see this on social media a lot, or at least I do, that people perpetuate the idea that they're very enlightened human beings, and they're light workers and they're healers and they're this and they're that and blah blah blah. And once you get labeled that, or you label yourself that way, if you lose your temper or if you say something that's the least bit aggressive, you have now tainted your title of healer, light worker, blah, blah, blah. And excuse me, where does it say that you're supposed to be in a Zen moment 24/7? You know? I mean, and I'm speaking as the Christian of the Catholic, the pagan, and the Christian group today. Even God got angry. Now
mhm.
he had a plan. I don't think he lost his temper, but Jesus, I think, lost his temper or was very agitated when he sat down. I mean, he had time to think about this. Yeah, I didn't really realize this until later in life. When Jesus was mad in the temple over the vendors, he sat down and actually took leather and braided himself a short whip to use to whip the vendors out of the temple. So it wasn't like he did, oh, look what they're doing, and he started running through, knocking over the tables. He thought about what he was doing and acted upon it. I'm sorry, whipping people with a whip, been there, done that. That doesn't seem very zen in the moment, you know? So that pisses me off. It does. It pisses me off.
I get it. I mean, I circulate in those kind of I don't know, you know communities, you know, and I have people call me all the time and it's like, oh, Matthew, I lost my temper. I lost, and I'm like, and
And good.
yeah, I mean, so you're human, okay. Phew. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. I mean, so I mean, and I think that like tying it back into like shadow work. I think that it's important for light workers, for people inside of like the metaphysical community to understand that, having those little dark pieces, that's not bad. It's not bad. It doesn't speak to, your credibility or how you engage the world. It's not that, you know, as long as you're willing to take and look at it as long as you're willing to like say, is this hurting me or is this helping me? You know, there can be some dark stuff in your life that, you know, other people think is very, very dark, but to you, it works, you know? I mean, Deborah, you brought up the, you know, the whole BDSM. Okay. I'm telling you what, there are some people that hear the word BDSM and go,
Mhm.
you know,
I know a
but the
few.
thing is that that community can be so nurturing and so loving and so like, I don't know, accessible. Okay. To explore like those things that we would normally think that were a little taboo. Okay. And I think that if we kind of like, you know, take that same philosophy into our lives, that it's okay to take a look at those dark pieces. You know, it's okay to take a look at, you know, why is that in place? You know? And so when we start doing shadow work, I mean, like I said, you know, it's not necessarily about those things that I don't know about, but if you go through the discovery process, you might find out the stuff that you don't know about, you know? So engage in it. It's not something to run away from, you know? I think that more, I'm sorry, I think more enlightened people need to do the shadow work, okay? But they have to be able to admit that they're shadows.
Well,
Yeah.
that's true. And like I made a decision a long time ago. In my mind, in my world, there is self-righteous indignation, bad. I'm going to put a judgment on it for me personally. And then there's righteous indignation, which is seeing that there are inadequacies and inequalities in this world, and you're angry about that. And you want, it's not about what you want for you, it's about what you want for the quality of the people around you or the world around you.
Right.
And I have given myself permission to be 120% involved in righteous indignation. Self-righteous indignation, it's time to sit down and take an assessment, Deborah. What's going on here? You know, are you out of sorts? Are you hormonal? You know, has this brought up something that you haven't really dealt with well? You know, do we need to revisit some shit? You know, that type of thing. I mean, a great example is me and my cussing. Okay. It is a rebellion for me. I know it's a rebellion for me. And the fact that it bothers people tickles me. Okay. And I can quit anytime I want to. I just don't want to. I just don't want to. And I don't want to visit it and I don't want to work on it. And I say this jokingly, but there's a depth of truth to it. It's one of the things that keeps me imperfect. And I use it as a way of separating the chaff in my relationships, because if they're not willing to accept that about me, then and because me cussing is a very trivial thing. It really is. They're just words. They're just words. And I think they're words that are misappropriated. I think fuck should be a good word. I think I should say, fuck you, Matthew. Have a great day. Because who doesn't need more sex in their life? And
Because you
Well,
need,
I know 2 out of the 3 in this group want more sex. I know that for a fact. I know that. So why is that a bad thing to go fuck you? It should be a greeting of love and embracement and goodwill. Matthew, I love you. Fuck you.
fuck you. Well, that's why I say fuck you, Deborah. You know, I mean, it's because I had that realization. You know, you were able to be such like a good friend, to be able to call me on my shit. That, you know, yeah, I can say fuck you, Deborah, because like, ouch. You know, thank you for that. I mean, really, thank you for that. It was just like, oh,
Well, I don't cuss during Bible study. I don't cuss. I mean, and that's an agreement. My Bible mentor came to me and says, we need to have an agreement. And I'm like, okay. I can make that agreement with you. I don't cuss when I'm giving prophetic ministry at Bible study, and I cuss on a very low level at gigs. I might say shit sometimes if I get caught off guard. I'm like, oh shit, these, you know, and then I will apologize, and they're all like, oh fuck you, go on, and I don't care.
just go ahead, say it.
So I always seem to intuitively know who I can cuss in front of. So
yeah, sometimes during a reading, I have a, what the hell? And I went,
yeah,
oh, sorry.
yeah, I don't think people even think that's cussing anymore. I think cussing is now fuck, cunt. I think those are only two words that are considered really cuss words anymore. And I don't like that.
It's
The C
George
word.
Carlin's the 7 words you can't say.
Is that still hold true?
Uh-huh.
Because you hear it everywhere now.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear it everywhere now, except church, and you won't hear it at my Bible study.
Oh, I can tell you, I went to a church service one time, okay, that it was no holds barred. I mean, this was a Christian thing. I mean, seriously. I mean, it was, it was bikers, it was truckers, it was, people that were, ex-military, those type of people. Okay. And the minister got up there and I mean, it was every other word was a cuss word. Okay. But guess what? That wasn't the focus of what he was talking about.
No, I
And
think
so
you
it
have
was
to
completely and
communicate.
totally accepted.
You have to communicate on where people are at,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry, everyone says, well, if you cuss, you're coarse. Well, okay, so I'm fucking coarse. Deal with it, But then there are other people say that's a sign of high intelligence if you cuss. So
It's been proven that people with higher intelligence actually use those words because it's actually, they call it a phonetic release.
what does
Okay.
Oh,
that
that
mean?
makes sense.
What
It's
does
a
that
phonetic
mean?
release,
What does that
which means
mean?
that it actually like it's more smooth communication because you're not holding back and trying to figure out like what emotion to convey with your message. Okay.
Exactly. I don't have time to give you 3 or 4 sentences when fuck you satisfies me.
Exactly. So
You
that's what they
know,
call it. They call it a phonetic release.
I like that. I like that. Okay. All
I mean,
right. I'm
seriously, I
happy.
mean, if I could have said, "Oh my God, Deborah, it was so wonderful that you actually gave me the advice that I needed, and I actually took it, and it worked out, and it like really became like, wonderful, and it solved my problem and like that." Just the understanding of fuck you, Deborah. It's
Because
just
if you
like
talk like that to Deborah, Deborah be one saying,
what?
fuck you, Matthew.
Yeah. Yeah. And I knew exactly what he meant when he said that. I said fuck you to someone on Facebook, and I rarely do that. I rarely do that. I don't say fuck you to people when there's not like a dialogue being
Yeah.
had. So, because I want him to understand what I mean. But he basically implied that there was, and he said, I figured he was joking. And I was kind of joking, but I didn't like the attitude behind the joke because he mentioned the fact we were talking about the fact that I'd been married many times, many, 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 many times. And he goes, well, maybe there's something wrong with your picker. Well, that had nothing to do with the thread. It had nothing to do with the meme, and I'm like, oh, so why is he turning this personal? So I just said, fuck you. He goes, can't you take a joke? And I said, I take you all the time.
You're in my life, so
you know, and I just, I don't know. Sometimes I would like to be very verbose and eloquent, but frankly, I just fuck you and go on. I'm good with that.
but I'm going to surmise something here. I honestly think that when you're in your prophetic ministry, okay, and you are presenting inside of that energy, okay, this isn't even a thought. This isn't even a conversation,
Mhm.
okay.
Mm.
I don't think that you have like that persona that you have to switch off, in order to do that because it's the reaction to the energy that is coming through, okay.
Exactly.
So, I mean, if you all of a sudden say fuck you, okay, you know, but I doubt very seriously whether that happens inside of your prophetic ministry. Okay. If I'm sitting in front of a class or I'm teaching something, okay, there are some times like in a business class that I'm teaching, like SEO branding or whatever else like that, that I might slip and say that word, fuck you, or like, oh shit, something like that. Okay. But for the most part, I don't, just because it's not necessary.
Well, I'll tell you a little secret. I would say probably about 60 to 70% of the time when I cuss, it's deliberate and conscious because I want the shock value. And it is a way to get control of the conversation at times, I'll be honest. A
Yeah.
lot of times it's to point out to these people how fucking ridiculous they're being because I'm shifting the energy, you know. Um, but Now I will say this. I don't cuss when I'm doing prophetic ministry, but I do a lot of weird things when I'm doing prophetic ministry at times when I'm really, really, really in that place. It's kind of like a movie, you know, where they have movies and this person's like having all of these visions hit them like from dreams or memories or whatever. Sometimes I just get overwhelmed. And one of the things that I have to be very conscious about in a Christian community doing prophetic ministry in that directive is that it's always to encourage, uplift, and empower. And I get some information that I have to really think about how to present it so it doesn't sound like I'm being judgy or judgmental or negative. Because what I'm hearing saying is get off your fucking ass and go do this because God's trying to gift you or trying to bless you, and you're absolutely refusing it because you won't comply.
Yep.
That's really the message I'm getting, but I can't say it that way.
Well, actually, you can. You just
No,
choose
I can't.
not
There's a
to.
rule. It's a rule in my Bible study. It's a
Okay,
rule.
well, but like I
Okay.
said, it's a rule, but it's not that you can't. You can. It's just that you have things that are in the way of that happening that way.
There's formats, and if it's a one-on-one, oh, I'm absolutely going to say it.
Yeah.
Luann will tell you that. But there, what am I trying to say? You never want to take a positive message and present it in a way that might trigger someone. I have to be
Sure.
aware of triggers. So we're bringing it back around to dark shadows work, the long way around. We're bringing it back to shadow work. I have to be cognizant that I'm doing my best job not to trigger people because I'm only going to encourage them, uplift them, and empower them.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now that I do trigger people. Like when I'm talking and when I'm presenting, my goal is to trigger you, and I'll tell you right up front. I will tell you right up front. I mean, if you're not personally offended at the time that we leave the seminar or whatever else like that, come up to me and say, "Hey, I need some degradation. I
Well,
need to be personally like I need to be down, whatever. Hey, if you're not offended, okay. I mean, I don't limit the communication. I take and go with it. You know, I'm not a part of a study group where there's rules that you can do this or you can do that or so on and so forth. And that's fine. I mean, that's absolutely all well and good. You communicate how you should be communicating with, the people that are around you. Okay. With me, it's kind of different. It's like, when things are coming out, they're coming out. I'm a trans channel, so I have energy that comes through and speaks. Is it any different than a prophetic ministry? Not really. It's just that it's coming from my guides, my angels, and things of that nature.
yeah. Well, you and Luann both know when I'm working one-on-one, there's no holes, boy.
Yeah.
It's all there. That's why you say "fuck you, Deborah."
Mhm.
And even when I'm teaching, if I'm teaching a class, and it doesn't matter what kind of class. I was teaching a class at the Dallas Juvenile Center several years ago, and one of the things I did several times a year is I would go and teach empathy and communication styles to the juvenile workers on how to deal with the parents and the kids with mental health issues. And I went through one of my exercises, and this guy had been an asshole to me all friggin' day. I mean, he just did not want to be there. He made it clear he didn't want to be there. He didn't think I had anything to offer, and he was very, very obvious. So after I went through the communication module, he goes, "So what you're telling me is I'm supposed to say, now, Joey, you need to come in on time of curfew because we don't want you getting in trouble." And that's exactly how I did it. And I just told him, I said, "No, I didn't tell you to be a fucking liar. No one's going to believe you because you're not a very good liar to begin with." And the whole room stood up and applauded because obviously he was an asshole to everybody else too. I said, "What I just taught you about clear and concise communication is that you say, Joey, I'm the man in charge and you've got a curfew. And damn it, you're going to come in on curfew. I'm going to bust your ass and you're going back into the prison." That's what your truth looks like. And everybody just fell out.
Yeah.
But I could have just slapped him. at head cocking. Come here, I'll slap that off your face. But I didn't. I had a choice. I took my dark side and I said, "It's all right, honey. We're gonna show him up anyway. Just sit back and watch Mama do it." My dark side sat down, said, "Okay, Mama, let's see what you do." And I put him in his place.
There you go.
And that's what
I don't
shadow
know
work
if you
looks
saw
like.
the meme that I posted the other day, how to slap people over the internet.
What did it say? What did it say?
It was Kermit the Frog just reading a little book that says how to slap people over the internet.
Mm, we should write a book called that.
Because sometimes they need it.
Most of the time people tickle me. It may sound like I'm a little agitated or angry because that's just my style. But most of the time people, when they do stupid shit like that, it just tickles me. It really does. And
Well, go ahead, Deborah. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, and I love the fact that he called me out like that, and I loved showing out like that. I did. I loved it. It was fun.
Well, here's a very spiritual way that you can say, I want to slap the shit out of you.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Let's hear it. I'm gonna take notes.
Please do not make me use some of the fivefold ministry.
I love that. I love that.
Fivefold ministry. Is that what you said?
His backhand.
Yeah, fivefold ministry.
Fivefold ministry.
My favorite thing to say is like, you know what? I'm going to slap all four of your cheeks individually. And people go, four? And then they get it. They're like, four cheeks. So
I don't know. These days it would probably be 6 with me.
what? What? 6?
I said it would be 6 with me. Cheek, 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 cheek.
Well, mine is still 4, but they have to reach real low to get the other 2.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of drag and
I'm a part of the no acetol tribe, so I mean I have a division that it was like
you
that
really
is 2
don't
ass
have an
cheeks,
ass.
isn't it?
You're built like my dad. He didn't have an ass either. It was just torso and then legs coming out like a stick figure.
Well, I was once, I mean, I topped out at 350. I
Wow.
was a walking pair. I mean, I literally had a 52-inch waist. So I mean, my body and everything else like that was this size, and then the rest of my body went
I
okay,
can't
and
even
then I had
imagine
thin
that.
spindly little legs. Literally, I mean, people called me Tweedledee or Tweedledum.
I cannot imagine you like that.
I was huge.
You know what? And you know what else is weird? You're just so healthy looking. You're just so healthy looking, and you're so attractive. I just want
Oh, thank you.
I
I
just want to
appreciate
pinch
that.
all 4 of your cheeks
With
individually.
with my hair and everything like that, that's all messy.
I do. I think you're a very attractive man, and that's and why that's weird. It's not because you're gay. It's because I don't really find a lot of men attractive anymore. You're just like, oh, you know. I can see their shadow side. I'm going, I don't want to deal with that shadow side.
Well, I
I am so
appreciate it. Thank you very
done.
much. I take the compliment.
So I really do think that the men that I think of being attractive, if I had time to talk to them, I would realize that they have dealt with most of their shadow stuff. I just think that's where I'm at in my life as well. Because most of the men that I like, there is no rhyme or reason. Like
Yeah.
I don't have a style, I don't have a type.
I'm not going to brag on myself, but I think that I do have a sense of self. That if something is coming up for me, I'm like, okay, wait a second, I'm being triggered. Why am I being triggered? And I can actually say, okay, well, then let's work on this. Okay. I don't know a lot of other people that like kind of subscribe to that, you know? And so, I feel that I'm always supposed to better myself. I had a teacher one time that says, if you are not recreating yourself daily, you're not living.
Well,
Well,
I have go ahead, Lou. Go ahead, Lou.
I think that's true. You constantly need to find out what you can do to better yourself. It's like never stop learning.
Yeah.
You
Well, then
always
I need y'all's help. I'm going to be honest. I need y'all's help. I realized last week I've got something to work on. I am getting to a place of deep frustration because I don't feel like I'm being seen.
Mm.
You know, I don't feel like I'm being seen. Like people don't see me. They may see what I do. I'm sure, like I don't get caught up in the numbers of whether people watch the podcast or stuff like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I don't feel like people are in my life see who I am and see me. And
they
I
just see
haven't
you as a
felt,
controlling bitch.
yeah. I'm gonna make you do that sound bath, Luann, whether you want to or not. Oh my God, I don't give a shit if you take a sound bath. I think that's the stupidest thing.
I don't like my sound baths.
Oh, they're fun, but oh my God, I'm gonna have an opinion strong enough to make somebody go do that. Oh my God. I mean, it's one thing to
Yeah.
say, oh, that's fun or whatever. It's another thing to have a commitment to something strong enough that you want to make somebody go do it and put all that energy into it.
Well,
Someone accused her of having been controlled by me. And I'm like,
I
have they?
told them, I told these people, I said, I'm really thinking about learning to use the singing bowls and learn to use sound therapy. And they turned around and said, "Is that your idea?" Uh, what do you mean?
Deborah
I'm
make you
like,
do that?
Some
yes,
people.
I actually had that thought.
Okay, so I'm going to make an announcement right now. If I had the power to control people, yes, Jesus, yes, Lord, like people accuse me of, I'm going to tell you, half you sons of bitches would not be on Facebook or social media. Half you sons of bitches would not even get to talk to me. And my son and daughter would not have dated 90% of the people that they dated if I had any fucking control over it. That's what I'm like, okay, if I could control people the way I get accused of, what would be different in my life? Everything. You know what I'm saying? So,
Toe the line, people, toe the line.
toe that line. Toe the line. Or your toes will get cut off. I always wondered what happens if you don't toe the line.
I don't toe the line a lot.
So anyway, I'm getting irritated because I don't think people see me when I say something, go, well, you mean this. I'm like, no, that's not what I mean at all. And it's just gotten to where I don't even want to talk to people anymore because I'm tired of explaining myself. And I'm tired of them I'm like you've been my friend for 25 years. Why do you not get that about me? Why do you, you know?
So what they need to say instead of is this what you mean by that by saying that?
Yeah, but they're not going to. They're not going to. You know why? Because I can't control them.
Because you can't control them?
Shit. Shit fire. What does that mean? Shit fire. I
Uh,
love that. But what does it mean?
uh,
Probably, I don't know, exploding diarrhea
I don't know.
after Taco Bell. I mean,
I don't know.
shit fire.
I don't know. Or how about shit? They're firing on us. Fire back. No.
I don't know. I got called a name the other day
Uh-oh.
that
Uh-oh.
I was like, yeah, I've never heard this context before.
I know. I told Lou about that and I called her that too.
I was like, oh my God.
And
I mean,
then,
I was like, I was looking at this person. I was like, are you fucking serious?
but think
Like,
about it in
really?
reverse. Think about it in reverse. What if you called someone the reverse of that? That's what we were laughing about. You remember what we were talking about yesterday? Remember? You remember? You remember?
I'll remember it in a minute.
I'll tell you later. We're not going to talk about that on air.
No, we're not.
What?
But
And there's
it
a
was
can of worms.
a kind of a racial slur
Mm,
that took on a
mm,
different
mm.
connotation by adding my race into it.
Now I remember.
Okay, we're
Yeah.
done with that. We're done with that. We're done with that. But yeah, I don't get that. I don't get it. So again, most of the things like that amuse me. They don't
Mhm.
frustrate me, they amuse me. But I am frustrated about the lack of personal understanding. Because how in the world can you even say that you accept me or like me if you don't even get me?
Yeah.
You
Or
know?
try to.
Yeah, or try to.
Yeah, make an attempt.
Yes. I mean, because
Okay,
we
you know what else
all,
bugs me? Okay, so tell me what's wrong with me with this. You know what else bugs me lately? Is when you put something on Facebook and people come on there and like 50 people will give you advice. I didn't ask for fucking advice. And why do you think I haven't already tried that? Do you think I'm fucking stupid? Why do you think that I have not tried this already? I didn't ask for advice, and you're giving me something I've already done without even asking me if I've already done it. That annoys the hell out of me. All right, so what shadow work do I need to do here?
And just understand that people are stupid sometimes. Like, and
Oh, I understand
if
that.
they're gonna give you advice, just know that you can take it or leave it. You
Yes,
know,
Jesus, I understand that. Yes, Jesus. Hey, we flipped screens. That's weird. You were on my left and now you're on my right.
it's because you were waving your hands to Jesus.
Uh,
well,
Yeah,
okay, so
elevated yourself.
well, or I tried to actually, I don't elevate myself. I tried to drag Jesus down into the trenches with me.
Hey, that's where he'll meet you. I mean, seriously, that's where he'll meet you.
I feel that's where he does his best work, you know. So that's the way I look at it. Oh my God. Oh, I'm done. Are y'all done? Do y'all want us to say anything else?
I, I mean, I think that shadow work is an important step in self-discovery. I do. And I think that a lot of people, when you get into therapy or counseling or whatever else like that, that if you're not actively engaging in some sort of shadow work, okay, you're not going to get out of the position where you're in. So, I
right.
mean, to me, that's just, I mean, that's how I feel about it.
I agree. I agree. Take that dark thing out. Love it, kiss it, hold it, breastfeed it if you have to, whatever
Mhm.
it takes, because it is a part of you.
Yeah.
And it does not have to be destroyed, but you may
Mhm.
have to lock it in the closet.
Set boundaries, set rules. I mean, et cetera,
Exactly. Exactly. So Lou, I'm so excited, has a new website. Is it published? Is it up?
No, not yet.
Not just yet.
We're
Y'all driving me nuts.
we're
Get it
almost
done.
there. It's
Get it
almost there.
done. What the hell? Get it done.
Okay, so I will, I mean, I'm going to protect Luann on this one, okay? Because the work that she's doing on this website is amazing,
It
okay?
is.
And the
It
reason
is
that I
amazing.
say that it's amazing is because she now understands her worth, okay? If you get
Oh,
into business and you're just doing it because you're going to make a buck or whatever else like that, okay? That's one thing, okay? Luann's not doing that. Luann got into this business because she cares about the product. She cares about what people are going to be purchasing from her. And she realizes her worth inside of all of her products. Okay. And so it might be taking a little longer to, to get all of these things out there and updated, but she's making a conscious effort to make sure that people understand the energy behind her. Okay. That is what is a brand. Okay. She is taking the time to understand what her brand is. That's not her logo. That is not anything else, but she is understanding her brand. Okay. And that is what is going to give her success inside of this website. Some people are like, I just release the web, just release it, just release it. She's not established all of the things that she needs to yet for her brand. But I'm going to tell you this right now, when she releases this website, it's going to go like gangbusters because she has put the work in.
It's a
I
lot
think
more in depth. It's a
Yeah.
I
lot
think I
more in
just got
depth.
told. Do you think I just got told? I just got told.
But it
Not
is.
necessarily, but I mean, I
No,
just
no,
want
it's
to
it's
go
excellent
ahead.
points. It's excellent points. And I just want to make this final point. If I was the controlling bitch that everyone says I am, that website would be up. I don't
Oh,
care
yeah.
what Matthew says. No,
Well,
but tell them, go ahead and just tell them a little bit about your process of what Matthew's talking about, because it really has been an interesting little jaunt.
well, first of all, it's kind of owning what you want to call it, because I have what when I named it, it was like just pick something. When I first named Herbal Lou's Apothecary, just pick something so people know you're doing herbs. And so when Matthew started working with me, it was like, yeah, but what do you want to say about the herbs? Well, the one thing I'm always saying when I do a podcast or if I do a blog, these herbs have been around forever, forever. And it's just we use it out of um the established ways that herbalists and shamans and healers in groups learn to use it. And so Matthew was like, so they're ancient.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
Mhm.
the herbs are ancient, not Lou. Lou's not
No.
ancient.
Correct. So
No.
this is Ancient Herbal Apothecary. So
No.
it's www.ancientherbalapothecary.com. And you can email me now at Luann and that's LUANN. Don't add an E, don't put an O, LUANN at
Ancient.
ancientherbalapothecary.com.
Where would they put an O in that?
Oh,
Some people do. I mean, because I've seen it spelled LOUNNE, and it's Luann.
Okay, whatever. Don't even get me started. All right,
So
so we're looking forward to seeing your new website. She has wonderful products. Okay. So here's why I wanted up. This is what because it's about me right now. I'm listed as part of the intuitive team because I get to help her pick herbs for some of her products.
she's the intuitive consultant.
I'm the intuitive consultant. I'm so proud. I'm so thrilled, and it's a lot of
And
fun.
Matthew, did you see your picture on that page
I
too?
did. I did. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So he is the website consultant.
Yeah.
Oh, he's the scientist. I'm the intuitive.
Well, I do want to say this, okay? I mean, Luann has been really gracious with me because I've put her to task. I've like, you need to do this, or you need to do this, or hey, consider this, or consider that. And she's like, you know what? You're absolutely right. Let's do it.
Oh
And
my
so
God,
she's
does that
been
mean
very,
Matthew's
very,
controlling?
I
Well,
make
he's the expert on
suggestions.
websites. Why would I not listen?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And part
Okay,
of the
that's the
problem,
key. Wait. That's the key. If someone, and I don't mean just me, I mean anybody, if someone is giving you good information or good advice, why would you not listen?
Yeah.
Seriously. Whether it's free, whether you're paying for it, whatever, listen.
and he made me look at my products and the costs that I have and the time I put into it,
Time is important.
because it's and I have learned a lot about the cost of my ingredients, because uh what was it I found out? Sometimes you just use something because, well, I'm going to use this, and this is something that everybody uses, and I'm going
I
to
don't know,
use
but it was
it.
expensive. What it was like $150 an ounce or something.
Neroli essential
Yeah,
oil is now
yeah,
$535
$5.
an ounce.
Yeah, we won't be using that.
And
But here's the
something,
thing. Here's the thing. I mean, and I have to say that, even though it's ancient herbal apothecary, the ideas that she has for non-GMO and ethically sourced and everything else like that, that's very modern. Okay. And the quality of the ingredients that she is using in every single one of her products is of the utmost quality. You know, you're not getting crap. You're not, I mean, you're just not getting crap. Okay. And
Because
so,
I could make things cheaper
oh yeah, absolutely.
by getting crap.
But you're not going to.
No.
No, no.
I
And
mean, and once people start using your product, they're going to understand, oh my God, this is quality. This is real
and I want
quality.
them to understand that I actually have my dining room set up like a lab.
Mhm.
You know, this is where I make.
It's like a mad scientist room. Let me be more specific. It's like the mad science. You walk
Yeah.
in there and go, wow, what is going on in here?
Because I have everything lined up, and so I don't work in my kitchen. I work in this dining room as my lab.
Yeah, it's your space.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
And
All right, so we're looking forward to seeing that website.
Yeah.
Now,
very
Matthew has
soon, very soon.
2 new endeavors. Well, not really 2, but he's got his continuing endeavor and he's got a new endeavor. So tell him about that.
The new endeavor, I mean,
Your new website.
connections.
oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Some people were getting kind of confused by Metaphysical Events LLC. Metaphysical Events LLC is transforming into more of teaching, more presenting, more of helping people get themselves and their message out there. And so, you know, we're going to be offering online courses, et cetera, et cetera. The academy is still kind of on hold, but you know, that is still in the process where people can, you know, go and sign up for classes. So I have also started Connections Design Studios, and that is more of the website development, graphic design, SEO, branding, etc. And so that's kind of who I'm kind of going through right now. Metaphysical Events LLC is the parent company, but Connections Design Studios is a child of that overall company. And the response I'm getting is like amazing. So I'm really excited to, be rolling out some products and rolling out, I mean, some, people's websites and their branding activities and, their SEO, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, that's kind of my new projects.
And we're supporting him 100% and we're supporting Lou 100%.
Absolutely.
And so here I am, little old me.
Well, you
And
got some stuff on your plate too.
I know, and we're actually looking at maybe starting several new endeavors. And I'm starting a new TikTok campaign and being quite successful. In less than 2 days, we have over 300 followers, which I'm real thrilled about. So Miles of Smiles Events is the sponsor for this show, and we're intuitive, interactive entertainers. We come and tell fortunes and all kinds of things. You'll just have to go to some Miles of Smiles Events. It's just too much to explain right now. And then I'm still a private investigator, isgu.com. And then I do all kinds of spiritual things and coaching at deborahcolleenrose.com, along with the handwriting therapy. So we will see you guys, I guess, next week if the creek don't rise. So
God willing, and the creek don't rise.
that's all right. All right. See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.